If you hire mediocre salespeople, not only will you fail to hit your revenue goals, but your business might even start losing money. So in this video, I'll be sharing with you exactly how you can actually identify the red flags that might mean you're about to hire a dud, and that way you can bring on true A players that could bring your business to the 7 and even 8 figures and beyond. So the first red flag that you should be looking for are to find out whether or not your new sales candidate is actually passionate about sales. Because the reality is, sales is such a grind. It is a roller coaster of emotions, and frankly, anyone who goes through multiple months of poor sales will get down in the dumps. They're going to get discouraged. But the difference is someone who's actually passionate about the art in and of itself, and they're motivated to learn and become a better salesperson, a better communicator, they're gonna stick it through. Another reason why passion is important is because there is an infinite amount of stuff that you need to learn when it comes to sales, whether it be vocal tonality or persuasion or handling objections or even storytelling. And the reality is, no single week of on-the-job coaching or taking a training program is gonna help any new sales rep actually become an expert at their craft. Anyone who becomes truly an expert in sales, it's because they do a lot of self-study. They're reading books, they're listening to podcasts, they're watching YouTube videos to learn more about sales on their own time. If you want someone who's truly a rock star, they have to be passionate about learning on their own time and investing in themselves, even if you're not asking them to as their manager. The second red flag that I want to talk about is belief in the specific product that the salesperson is selling. Because the reality is, even if you have a salesperson who's at the top of their craft, they're really good at persuasion, if they don't actually believe in what it is that they're selling themselves, it will actually materialize in their pitch. It's gonna sound a little bit less confident. It's gonna be just less persuasive. That being said, let's say you take someone who's not even a good salesperson, but they truly believe in what it is that they're selling. Maybe there's this miracle medicine that cured them of cancer. If you have that person try to convince their friend who also has cancer about the benefits of this pill, do you think that person who just got cured of cancer themselves is gonna be able to do it? Of course, because what they lack in sales skills, they make up for in conviction. They believe it with their very heart of hearts and their soul. When you're hiring a salesperson and you ask them, hey, what do you think about our offering? Do you believe in it? The answer needs to be that they really do, that they truly believe that your mission in the world, that your value and your offering actually can make a real impact. And if they don't, if they feel hesitant, then that means they're gonna not come across persuasive in their pitch, and it's not gonna inspire them to do additional research and learning into your industry or into your product, which will always help when it comes to the actual sales pitch and delivery in and of itself. Now, before we hit point number 3, please just smash that like, subscribe, and notification bell, because I'm gonna be releasing more new and super valuable content every single week about sales, marketing, and building teams. So with that being said, hit those buttons, stay notified, and I'm gonna make sure that you're gonna get some awesome stuff. All right, so the fourth red flag that I want you to pay attention to is whenever you meet a salesperson that just doesn't have the desire to make a lot of money or to truly perform as a top A player. The reality is, there's a bell curve when it comes to salespeople, and the majority of them are pretty okay with being mediocre. And that means that for themselves, if they make an adequate amount of money, they're gonna be fairly happy and they're just gonna check out mentally. What you really want are the salespeople that they hit quota halfway through the month, they realize, you know what, I'm already at $10,000, $15,000 collected cash, but I'm not happy with that. I actually wanna make 20, I wanna make 25, I wanna make $35,000 for myself in income. And that way, halfway through the month, despite hitting quota, they're gonna work even harder. They're gonna wanna actually blow their own previous records out of the water. They're competing not just with everyone else in the team, but they're competing with their own self. It's fun for them to actually try to be the best versions of themselves. I actually like to hire people who were competitive athletes when they were younger in university, or people who've shown consistent ability to reach the top of whatever it is that they're trying to strive for. That mentality, in particular in the world of sales, is just so critical. And if I can find someone who has that skill, who has that mindset, I want to bring them on. If I find someone who's very happy with mediocrity, that if they hit quota, they're pretty much good and done for the month and they'd rather just take a couple days off and relax, that's probably going to be someone who not only underperforms or barely performs for your team, but they set a culture in your entire organization of just being complacent and being okay with the status quo. That's not really something that you want. So the fifth red flag that you want to avoid is whenever you meet a candidate who is selfish and uncoachable. Sales reps who have a huge ego about themselves and they think that they know it all are rarely actually the best salespeople, because historically they've never been willing to take feedback and coaching. And a big part about being good in sales is actually listening and getting help from people who are more experienced. For me, a big reason why I was able to become good at sales is because every single week at my first sales job ever, I would sit down with my boss and I would ask, hey, how do you think I can improve? Let's do some role plays together. Give me some constructive criticism. Please tell me what it is that I'm good at, what I'm bad at, and let's actually build an action plan together to improve the things that I'm bad at, right? And if you do this enough over the course of a long period of time, you're gonna eventually become pretty good. But the only way you can even allow yourself to go through this process is if you're willing to admit that you have things to learn and that other people can actually be of value. I have met a lot of salespeople with a huge ego, and they will simply never improve in their sales game because they already think that there is perfection in the words that they're speaking and the breaths that they're taking. Another thing that is really off-putting about this personality type is that if you are placing that person into a team setting, they will almost always drag down the entire culture of the organization. Because as soon as someone sees them as being arrogant or uncoachable, or maybe they're talking down to their other colleagues, this kind of drags down everyone's personality. It makes everyone feel less safe. And since that person never asked for help, it might make other people feel as though, you know what, maybe I shouldn't ask for help either. Maybe this person is so confident in what they do, maybe I should emulate them and just try to, be a lone wolf and attack the clients in however way I choose to attack them, right? Who cares about management? Who cares about people's feedback, right? If you have those types of people setting the example for the rest of the organization, you're gonna have an organization of a bunch of lone wolves who don't actually wanna help each other. So that's not good. You wanna avoid that as much as you can. So the sixth red flag that you're gonna want to avoid is whenever you meet someone who just thinks sales is about pitching, it's about persuading, it's about throwing a bunch of words at a prospect, trying to get them to see your side of the story. But the reality is, good sales is about listening. It's about paying attention and being in tune with what the prospect actually cares about. Because at the end of the day, your prospects don't care about what you as a salesperson want. They care about what they want. They care about solving their problems and dealing with their issues. So as a salesperson, you can't just be talking the entire time. You need to be asking a lot of questions and trying to understand as much as you can the world from the lens of that prospect. And only when you really understand the pains that they're going through are you going to then pitch them a solution which is specifically tailored given the issues that they're experiencing. So you meet a salesperson and they don't really value asking questions. They don't really care about learning or being curious about the prospect. They just want to talk and talk and talk. Yeah, that person's not going to be very good when it comes to these solution-based sales. They're not going to be good at selling a high ticket. These very conscientious sales, talking to intelligent prospects. That's not going to be the right role for them. Maybe they can go to a gas station and sell credit cards because, you know what, in that one, you're probably making a much more transactional sale, and that's fine. But for what we're doing here, higher ticket B2B or higher ticket B2C, you want someone who's willing to have a real dialogue and conversation. The seventh and final red flag that I want you to avoid when it comes to hiring salespeople is make sure you run away from any candidate that doesn't believe in the unsexy part of sales. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there's this entire library of unsexy things that are actually very important when it comes to closing deals or booking appointments or anything in terms of sales. Things like tracking your data, recording your call notes, updating your CRM, understanding where your pipeline is at. The people who don't see value in this and they live in their sales career just on the day-to-day, talking to as many people on the phone as they possibly can, they might do well if they have amazing conversational skills, but they'll still underperform relative to someone who is just okay at persuasion, okay at pitching, but they're super diligent with all of those unsexy things. Because the reality is, if you don't take call notes and you're on another meeting with someone who you only spoke with 30 days ago, you're not gonna remember everything that they said. And they're gonna know that you don't remember because you're asking the same questions again. That's unprofessional. Another thing is you don't track in your CRM to follow up with someone a week down the line, and then you just forget. That person who, if you did follow up, might have bought, because you didn't follow up, you'll never actually turn that into revenue, right? So I would argue that over 50% of the deals that you close or meetings that you book will require some sort of follow-up. And these are things that I see time and time again, even with talented salespeople who really do know how to talk the talk. And they just think that because they know how to have a good conversation, that they're gonna close every deal immediately on one call, and that they just simply don't need to do any of those other things. I don't think I'm the most talented salesperson, but I know I'm very diligent with the way in which I track my data and that I follow up. And that's why I outperform the majority of other salespeople. So the next time you're thinking about building out your sales team and hiring additional sales reps, make sure that you capture all of these red flags and identify them as you're going through the interview process. The more you can find and avoid, the better the performer your rep will ultimately become. Now, you might be wondering, how do you actually uncover these red flags? And the secret really is just the way in which you structure your interviews. If you understand how to interview really well in a way where you can probe deep into the minds and thoughts of your candidates, then you can more or less identify whether or not they have these red flags. And if they do, then you can just avoid hiring that person. I have an entire video that breaks down my personal process of how I interview people in order to find the absolute top level talent. And of course, in that you'll learn exactly what I ask to try to understand if they have those red flags. So check that out right now. You can just click on that link. I've actually helped over 120 different clients in the last 3 years or so when it comes to building out some of these sales strategies and processes. If you are looking for some direct help and you want to just have a conversation with me to figure out how you can install a team or just other points of advice, by all means, just book a call with me below in my calendar link and we can have that conversation, all right? So with that being said, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.